Something historical happened today, and no one saw it coming. You guessed right. Guyana and Venezuela's presidents sat down in the same space today to try and ease the tension between their countries. Here you can see the two heads of government shaking hands when only last week the tension between the countries was so thick you could cut it with a knife. What a pleasant sight, don't you think? Who would have thought this would happen when only last week President Nicolas Maduro went on a rant about making plans to seize Essequibo from Guyana and make it a Venezuelan state called Guyana Essequiba. Stick around, we have the details of what transpired at the meeting, which will go down in history as one of the pivotal moments in the history of both countries. You are watching The Final Takeaway, where we analyze information and facts and offer opinions on issues of interest across the globe. Like, share, and subscribe to keep up to date and keep the conversation going. Thank you. Now let's get to it. At a meeting earlier today in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the president of Guyana, Irfaan Ali, reaffirmed Guyana's position on Essequibo, an oil-rich territory at the center of the dispute. Venezuela has been trying for over 50 years, perhaps close to 100 years, to gain sovereignty over the region. At a closed-door conference with Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro, Guyana's president clarified certain things about the dispute. Don't miss this most important part. Based on reports, the parties have arrived at some degree of understanding on a peaceful way forward. Here are some of the statements by Guyana's president, according to a report coming out of St. Vincent. The Guyanese president said this, quote, "I made it clear that the controversy must be resolved at the ICJ, and we are unwavering and resolute in ensuring that Guyana's case is presented, defended, and the ICJ will issue its position on the merits of the case." He also said, quote, "I made it clear that the process leading to the ICJ is part of the Geneva Agreement, and that the Geneva Agreement provides for the UN Secretary General to determine where the controversy must be finally determined, and it is the UN Secretary General acting within the confines of the Geneva Agreement that place is the ICJ. President Ali also stated that, quote, "Within the sovereign space of Guyana, we will continue to do everything that promotes the development, the advancement of our people, and all the partnerships necessary to ensure the defense of our borders in accordance with international law." He continues, quote, "We agree with the regional partners that the priority is peace, and every threat of force or the use of force must be denounced, and every party must take responsibility." End of quote. The president took the opportunity to remind everyone that, quote, "Guyana is not the aggressor, Guyana is not seeking war, but Guyana reserves the right to work with all our partners to ensure the defense of our country." According to a report from the Guyana press, both countries agreed to remain committed to ensuring peace remains in the region. The parties are expected to meet again for dialogue on a way forward as far as it relates to maintaining peace in the region, and not directly on the border dispute case presently before the World Court. The court is expected to make its final ruling on the merits of the land boundaries decided in the 1899 arbitral award that granted Essequibo to what was then British Guyana. Before attending today's meeting, Guyana's president spent the week reassuring Guyanese that Essequibo is not up for grabs. and there will be no compromise or negotiation. In a special address to the nation, Ali said this.
Controversy in relation to our border, there is absolutely no compromise. This matter is before the ICJ, and that is where it shall be settled.
The Guyana head of government felt the need to clarify the reason for the meeting following news that Maduro intends to discuss the border dispute. Ali reminded Venezuela that the border dispute case is now before the International Court of Justice, the ICJ. On the first day of December, the ICJ handed down provisional measures to protect Guyana's sovereignty over the territory in dispute. In the interim, Guyana sought provisional measures after Venezuela announced its intention to hold a special election called a referendum to get approval from its citizens on annexing or forcefully seizing Essequibo. In a ruling on December 1, which was essentially in favor of Guyana, the court made the following ruling. Number 1, unanimously, meaning all judges agree that, quote, pending a final decision in the case, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela shall refrain from taking any action which would modify the situation that currently prevails in the territory in dispute, whereby the Cooperative Republic of Guyana administers and exercises control over that area. And number 2, unanimously again, both parties shall refrain from any action which might aggravate or extend the dispute before the court or make it more difficult to resolve. And if you've been following this dispute, Guyana is not the aggressor here. Venezuela is trying to take Guyana's territory, but the ICJ, being the ICJ and being a court and in the interest of international law, I assume it decided to also caution Guyana on refraining from taking any actions that could aggravate or extend the dispute or make it difficult to resolve, okay? There are two parties involved here, and so the ICJ want to make sure that all parties are clear on their responsibility and their obligations under international law. Against the court's order, President Maduro and his government went ahead and held the referendum on December 3rd to seize and control Essequibo by force. While nothing is wrong with a democratic country to get the opinions of its citizens on a matter of national interest, there was a question number 5 on the ballot, that directly targeted and threatened the sovereignty of Guyana over Essequibo. That was the whole point of Guyana seeking the ruling by the World Court on December 1. Based on the opinion of experts and legal minds, presenting the ballot to Venezuelans without removing or amending question number 5 was in breach of the ICJ December 1 ruling. This led Guyana to report the matter to the UN Security Council and the World Court, which are both institutions of the United Nations. Maduro continued his rant last week, threatening to force companies currently conducting oil exploration in Guyana out of the disputed region. A few days ago, ExxonMobil, the oil company holding the largest oil block offshore Guyana, made it clear that the company isn't going anywhere. Today's meeting was held at the airport in Kingston in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It was arranged by two main organizations, the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, and the Community for Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC. Brazil and St. Vincent and the Grenadines heads of state reportedly functioned as observers. High-level members of the United Nations and the Caribbean and Latin American countries were also in attendance. Now that the meeting is over, we will have to wait and see what else happens. It's anyone's guess. We're not sure if Maduro will honor Guyana's position on Essequibo. We've seen how unpredictable he can be. One day he's appointing someone to administer Essequibo, and the next he's agreeing to have peace talks with Guyana. Let's hope good sense prevails and Maduro does not go back to showing aggression towards Guyana or issuing threats to take over the territory, a territory that is more than half of Guyana, a territory that is home to more than 100,000 peace-loving people, including the Amerindians, Guyana's indigenous population. Let's hope that the country, will honor the 1899 arbitral award that awarded Essequibo to Guyana. Let's hope that Venezuela will honor its agreement on the Geneva Agreement to have the ICJ determine the dispute if the parties were unable to resolve the dispute through peace talks. And currently the matter is before the ICJ, rightfully so, as agreed on the Geneva Agreement. Here's your chance to voice your opinion in the comment section below. I can't wait to hear from you. Everyone's views matters on this channel. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe and share our videos across your social media platforms to spread awareness on this ongoing dispute. See you in the next video. Ciao.